Barbara has her Drash for us today. It's up to you.
Good morning. Good morning. Just let me get put together here a little. So this week's portion is called what they just said. When you go out. It opens with a description of facing war with enemies. So in this week's reading, there are 74 of the Torah's 613 commandments or mitzvah. It sets out specific rules about family relationships and continues with laws involving many aspects of daily life: justice, family responsibility, work, and sexuality. It also includes laws governing the purity of the military camp, the proper treatment of a debtor, the laws of divorce, the duty to pay a worker on time, the dignity of the dead, returning a lost object, sending away the mother bird before taking your young, and the duty to erect a safety fence around the roof of one's home. So there was a lot in this parsha. There was a whole lot, and trying to figure out where to go with it. So as I was reading and studying and praying this week, words like responsibility, consistency, and expectations kept coming to my mind. So as a previous teacher and a supervisor, I knew and always told my staff that they need to be consistent in the expectations of their students, right? That's simple behavior guidance. When children don't know the expectations, or when the expectations change daily, one day we accept one behavior and the next day we don't, it gets very confusing for them to understand and self-regulate. It leads to power struggles, behavior issues, and sometimes just one of those no good, horrible, grumpy days where, it's just a real bad day for everyone all around. So they need to know what is expected. And then we, as parents or teachers, need to be consistent in how we respond to those behaviors. Anxieties and fears come from confusion about expectations. So we sometimes ask the questions, what's expected of us? What are our responsibilities? And sometimes as adults, we feel that changes too in our relationships and work life and in every aspect of our life. But you know what the awesome thing about this parsha is that we have the expectations laid out in front of us. And Adonai never changes. He has given us clear stated responsibilities. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The same expectations that were set forth with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, to Moses on Mount Sinai, and to the children of Israel are with us today. Those expectations did not just apply to them, but they apply to us as well. They are right here in front of us, but we must take the time to understand and practice them. One thing is for certain that will never change, and is Adonai gives clarity and consistency always. He promises consistency. So that was the first thing I got out of this week's Drash, or parsha. The second thing that popped out to me was at the end of this non-stop string of commandments, we read two rather interesting and contradicting commandments, and that's in Deuteronomy 25:17 through 19. I don't know if it's up there. Remember what Amalek did to you on the road as you were coming out of Egypt, how he met you by the road, attacked those in the rear, those who were exhausted and straggling behind you when you were tired and weary. He did not fear God. Therefore, when Adonai your God has given you rest from all your surrounding enemies in the land of Adonai, your God is giving you as your inheritance to possess, you are to blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. Don't forget. So this led me to studying a little bit more about this. And the Amalekites first showed up in the book of Exodus not long after the Israelites crossed the Red Sea out of Egypt. You can find that in Exodus 17, verses 8 through 16. And I think, do we have that? Yep. Then Amalek came and fought with Israel at Rephidim. Moshe said to Joshua, I'm just going to say Joshua because I'm going to mess it up the other way. Choose men for us. Go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand up on top of the hill with God's staff in my hand. Joshua did as Moshe told him and fought with Amalek. Then Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. When Moshe raised his hand, Israel prevailed, but when he let it down, Amalek prevailed. However, Moshe's hands grew heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held up his hands, the one on one side and the other on the other side, so that his hands stayed steady until sunset. Then Joshua defeated Amalek, putting their people to the sword. Adonai said to Moshe, "Write this in a book to be remembered, and tell it to Joshua. I will completely blot out any memory of Amalek from under heaven." Moshe built an altar and called it Adonai Nisi. Adonai is my banner or miracle. And said, "Because their hand was against the throne of Yah, Adonai will fight Amalek generation of generation." So here we can start to see a pattern of Amalek. He's picking on those who cannot defend themselves. And later in 1 Samuel 30, we read of the Amalekite attack in the settlement of Ziklag, where David had settled to get out of Saul's way. David and his troops all go to war, and while gone, Amalek comes and he attacks and takes all the children and women. The Amalekite of the Tanakh attacked the weak and defenseless. These soldiers attacked when the weak and defenseless when they were left undefended. Had David left a few good men behind, Amalek may not have attacked, and even if they did, they would have been easily defeated. So how do we fulfill this mitzvah of to remember Amalek and remember what they did and not to forget? We fulfill this commandment by behaving in a way that is opposite of this behavior. We need to stay away from dangerous traps of apathy and strive to have feelings of warmth and love towards Adonai and his commandments. And then finally, in Deuteronomy 22:8, this verse popped out and stuck with me a little bit this week. When you build a new house, you must build a low wall around your roof, otherwise someone might fall from it. So this is ultimately what this Torah portion is about, preventing us from falling off. It gives us the expectations and tells us what we are responsible for and puts a fence up to help prevent those transgressions. Our God is consistent and never changes. So as we get ready to start the new year and enter the holy days, let us work to fulfill our obligation and to guard against every obstacle that comes our way, not just for us, but for those around us. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Good job.